Okay, y'all, it's happening. Here we are, finally, the very first episode of the Republica Unicornia podcast. Look, I know it's a vlog, but the word vlog is an abomination, so I'm calling it a podcast. It's my show, and I can do what I want. Welcome! It is so good to have you here. This has just been such a long time coming. I'm mildly terrified. This feels a lot out of my comfort zone, and yet I'm just so excited to have a place to talk a little bit more in depth about what I'm working on, the patterns that I'm using, everything that's going on. If you don't know who I am, I have no idea how you found this, but hey, welcome. I'm Kathleen. I am an independent yarn dyer, bag maker, sewist, maker of all things, just like creative chaos machine. I live and work in fabulous Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, Atlanta, thank you. And I'm just glad to be here. So we are going to be talking about what I'm up to. That's going to be some shameless self-promotion because I do have a business. So there's going to be talk about yarn and bags and all of that kind of stuff. I'm also going to be talking a lot about my sewing. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may be aware that I have gotten pretty headlong into sewing over the last few years. And so I'm going to be talking about all of my garment making and what that process is like. So that's going to be some of it. And then obviously I'm going to talk a lot about knitting because first and foremost, I am a knitter. So here we are. I hope everybody has a nice warm beverage. I have a cup of tea. It's Tetley because I'm not fancy, but I love just like really strong brewed English breakfast. It's got a little milk in it, no sugar. So settle in, grab your knitting. This first episode's going to be probably just all over the place because I like literally, y'all, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's going to be a little over the place. I'm going to talk about my whips, a little bit of plans. So it may not be very long. I don't know. Y'all, I don't know. So I'm hoping as time goes on that I will be adding some more sew along type stuff so y'all can see what I'm working on. I do have a wardrobe plan brewing, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. So let's go ahead. I guess maybe I should introduce myself. Like I said, I'm Kathleen. I dye yarn. I make bags. I swear a lot on the internet. Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing. Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, look. I am going to swear a lot. If you know me, you know this about me. So if you have delicate sensibilities, if your ears are virgin and cannot be tainted by four-letter words, you're just gonna want to move on. Also, if your delicate sensibilities are offended by obnoxiously leftist politics, you're also probably going to want to move on. This is who I am. I'm, almost 40 years old. Like, I've spent a long time trying to be who other people wanted me to be, and I don't have to be for everybody. So if any of this is not your thing, if you don't like the sound of my voice, if you don't like my politics, if you don't like my swearing, if you don't like the yarn that I use, if you don't like anything, there is a whole wide internet out there that is people who are not me. So you can just see yourself out if that's not your thing. However, if you do enjoy swearing and obnoxious leftist politics and boundaries and all of those things, welcome to my room. My husband, I'm in my office, and my husband called it my room the other day like I was a teenager, and it makes me really happy. So I'm just holed up in my room. I've got lots of craft supplies. You can see I don't really work in January. Winter's hard on me. I live in the deep south of the United States. It's not even cold. It's just January is rough on me, and so I kind of hibernate. So my creativity hibernates too for work stuff. So I haven't really been in the studio very much. So supplies are dwindling back there, but I will be back to it in February. I know myself well enough. A little bit about the yarn business before I get into all the things that I'm working on that are not my own. So I started Republica Unicornia. I started dyeing yarn in 2017. I was in the process of leaving a career that was more than a career that I had prepared for and been a part of for almost a decade, most of my adult life, and I picked up knitting needles in 2017 for the first time, and like my life was exploding. I was in the process of leaving this career, preparing to move. I felt totally useless and washed up. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I was 30, almost 35, and just clueless, like had no idea, felt like I wasn't good for anything. And I started knitting, and it totally changed my life. And so as everything around me was falling apart, I was still able to make beautiful and useful things, and it really was a lifeline. And so honestly, it was only, I don't know, like 8 or 9 months afterwards, I decided to dye my first skein of yarn. I had gotten really into hand-dyed yarn, and it was really beautiful, but like, again, career transition, I was broke as shit. And I knew I was never going to be able to afford all the kind of yarn that I wanted to work with. And so I had done fabric dyeing, and I thought that how different could it really be? Well, it just kind of exploded. So I like dyed my first little bit of yarn. I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I was doing a residency program that was a year long, and it was temporary. It was always going to be temporary. And about a few months into that, I was like, oh, I'm leaving this career entirely. And so I just kind of thought that I was going to take a little bit of time off, and I was going to recuperate, and I was going to, like the yarn business maybe would go somewhere, maybe wouldn't, would be a little side hustle. And then it became very clear that in addition to everything else that had been going on, I also had PTSD. And so through all of this, I started Republica Unicornia. And so that's the name of my yarn business. And just a tangent about the name, it is like the least marketing friendly name ever. You will, if you know me from the internets, you will know this about me. I am not slick about marketing. So of course I picked a very long, hard to say, not memorable name for the yarn company, but it has a reason. So my spouse started calling our house the Republica Unicornia, like it was its own country, in the wake of the 2016 election. And his exact words were, well, if the country's going to shit, at least our home will be a place where people can be safe to be themselves and where creativity can flourish. And so when it came time to name the fledgling yarn business, that was all I wanted to call it, because it was a space for me too. It was a space where I could heal and be safe and be creative and be myself in a way that I hadn't been able to in my past life. And so that's where the name comes from. It is ridiculous, but I love it so much. It's also what we call our house. So we'll just call it the Republica Unicornia, like we're our own country. And we joke about seceding every once in a while, because we live in a hellscape. So anyway, so I started the business, and I started in 2018. I launched on Etsy in 2018, and it was kind of a disaster. Like, it was very slow. Everything, I was not going to, like, it was never going to blow up and be an overnight sensation. I was dyeing yarn in our apartment kitchen. Like, everything that has happened has been so slow. And so, like, bit by bit by bit, it's grown, and it's grown at a pace that feels sustainable to me. Yarn dyeing's hard. I feel like everything I read is about how saturated the market is, and like all of us are somehow Scrooge McDuck out here just doing backstroke in our piles of gold, and it's not like that at all. But I really love making stuff. And so I don't just dye yarn. I would say I primarily dye yarn, but I also make project bags, and I do also make weird random shit like tea cozies because I wanted them. So I do like project bags and tea cozies. I've just been working on some bowl cozies, which of course I don't have the one to show y'all, so I'll go get it in a little bit if I remember. We'll see. So I'm looking to do that. So I do a bunch of different stuff. I make resin buttons. So basically, if it's related to knitting in any kind of way, or frankly just general coziness, I am here for it. So that's a little bit about me and my story. I am mostly an open book, so like feel free. Look, I'm gonna do a YouTube thing. Just like leave little questions if there's anything you want to know within reason. You can ask. The worst I can do is say no, and if I want to say no, I'll say no. So that's me. It is kind of funny to be starting this in January when I'm in hibernation mode, because it's not like I have shop update stuff to sell. There's no shameless self-promotion. You're going to see, I do knit with my own yarn. I'm just not currently knitting with my own yarn. So there's that. Sometimes I'm just like not, y'all, I'm not good at the like business hustle brand stuff. Like, I'm just me. So okay, that's enough of that. So I'm going to talk a little bit. Let's start with knitting, since I am, you know, a professional or something. So I'm going to show you what I'm working on. I don't know what's in this bag. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm just going to start with my whips. I don't have any. I mean, it's the first episode. Oh, I can talk about what I'm wearing before I get into this. So I am wearing, this is the Antler Cardigan by Tin Can Knits, and it's a great pattern. Tin Can Knits has the best patterns, and they come in this giant range of sizes. So I've made it for me. I've made it for babies. It's great. I really should have done short rows in the back. It doesn't fit. Do I wear it anyway? Yes. I made it recently too, by the way. This is not like an old, so I know this about myself. So it has this really beautiful cable pattern, and I love it. It does need short rows in the back for me. But that's okay. It's cozy. It is made in Green Mountain Spinnery Weekend wool in the lichen colorway. I am obsessed with Pond Scum Green. It's my favorite color. So this yarn is fabulous. I love, and as you will see momentarily, I love commercial rustic yarns, which makes me feel sometimes like I'm a very bad hand dyer, because I'm supposed to be encouraging you to buy my own yarn. But honestly, I really like working with rustic yarns. I'm not sensitive to wool prickle at all. I grew up in Chicago and used to wear like really scratchy sweaters next to skin, so like it doesn't bother me. I don't have sensitive skin. And I just really love I love working with these yarns. I love how they wear. I love how they sort of soften over time. I love how they look with cables. I knit a lot of color work, and so I really do think you can knit stranded color work in superwash yarns. That's fine. I just really like how non-superwash woolen spun rusticy yarns look in color work. So anyway, that's my sweater. I am also wearing, these are, get ready for some stand-up modeling time. Whoa. These are the Riley overalls by True Bias, and I am obsessed with this pattern. I had a pair of Gap overalls that I got for Valentine's Day in the 5th grade that were my favorite item of clothing until I grew out of them. And the Riley are very much in that like 90s Gap overalls. Like they're really push. They're just like the best fit. I did some adjustments on them. I am very small. I am like the size of a 12-year-old. And so on almost everything I make, and I'll talk about this, I have to shorten stuff. And what I did on these is I shortened the bib, and then completely forgot that if you're gonna, because I normally wear skirts, so that if you shorten the bib, like the pants get yanked up, and I couldn't figure out why all of my pants of these that I were making were like all the way up in my business, and that is why. So this is a pair that I added some length to the rise, and they fit perfectly. It's one of my favorite patterns. It was released not very long ago, but I've made 4 or 5 pairs of them. I have some that are a whip right now. I love overalls. I'm weird about regular pants. When I started sewing, I was like, oh, I don't wear pants. So anyway, I'm obsessed with them. They are made in the most beautiful, these are the most beautiful denim. It is a Cone Mills dead stock, I believe. I got from Stash Fabrics, Vermont, which has very nice denim. They're a 9-ounce denim, so they're like the perfect weight. I haven't worn non-stretch denim probably in like 20 years, and oh my gosh, I forgot how nice the like rigid denim is, where it just molds to your body. Anyway, I'm just gonna awkwardly rub my knee. These are amazing. These are one of my favorite things that I made last year. Obsessed. Also, I love burgundy. Okay. Also, I made the t-shirt, but it looks like shit. And it's like barely recognizable Lark Tee from Grainline Studio. I hate sewing with knits. Not knitting, just like stretchy fabrics. I hate stretchy fabrics. I own a serger. I have been sewing pretty intensely for a few years. Like, I actually make my living sewing things, so there's that too. I just hate them. They misbehave. The serger hates them. The machine hates them. I hate them. Everything's, this was like my first attempt. I've gotten better, but like the necklines are always dwonky, like whatever. But sometimes you need t-shirts, and I can't buy stuff anymore. It's very annoying. Because I used to be able to, like, you know, buy things, and I've always worn the crap out of my clothes and, you know, whatever. But now I'm like, well, I have the time, resources, and ability to make this, so I have to make it. Which, you know, whatever. Ugh! Okay, got chair issues here. So that's what I'm wearing. Also, my necklace. In case you care. Nobody cares. I'm not an influencer. Whatever. But it's a kitty. This is from a local Atlanta artist. Her website is Molly Makes Critters, and she makes the cutest things. A kitty. Also, my mug is by an Atlanta artist. Atlanta artist. I'm repping. Okay. Hope y'all didn't come here for calming content. There are so many soothing knitters out there. I am not one of them. Okay, so this was my New Year's Eve cast on, and I'm going to talk about this project in a second. Not the knitting. I'm going to talk about the knitting, and then I'm going to talk about the project that it's a bigger part. This is what I'm like, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the actual knitting project, and then this is a part of a larger project that I will also be talking about momentarily. Okay, so I am obsessed with stranded colorwork. It's basically all that I knit. Not only, but yeah. And this is, and hopefully my beautiful editor, my spouse Steven, is going to put a picture in of this so you can see and see the pattern. Because the lighting, and you know, so you can see it. This is the Seaweed Slipover. It is a pattern from Shetland Wool Week 2019, I think. It's on Ravelry. The one thing is that the like before you buy the pattern, it doesn't list the sizes. So I think it's graded up to a 60-inch bust. So it's not even like it's embarrassing. Sometimes when you buy stranded colorwork patterns from European designers, they go up to like a 40-inch bust and you're like, what? It's ridiculous. But no, this one actually is kind of size inclusive. So it's very, very basic. Look at it though. Stranded colorwork vest. It's got steeks. I'm obsessed with cutting steeks. If you are new here, you can actually find my videos in which I cut a steek and talk about steeking. It's my favorite thing to do in knitting. It allows you to knit in the round and then you cut it open and it doesn't explode. It's magical. So it's worked. This has worked bottom up, and that has steeks for the armholes and the neck. The other thing I really love about this pattern is most sort of stranded color work. I could actually probably technically call this one Fair Isle because it's from maybe. Anyway, stranded colorwork vests are often V-neck, and this one is actually a scoop neck, which I'm very excited about. So I just absolutely love this. I started it on New Year's. I've actually not been knitting on it a lot. I have tendonitis, aka knitter's elbow, in my left elbow, and it has been acting up. So what will set it off more than anything is stranded colorwork and rustic yarn. So I've kind of had to put this aside, which is very sad. I don't think the pattern, I did twisted rib on the bottom, and I'm going to talk about the yarns. You can see all of my colors and what everything is. This is going to be like a best of all of my favorite rustic yarns. So, in here, we've got, the yellow is Harrisville Shetland, which is their fingering weight, and I think it's mustard. I think that's what it's called. It is. It's called mustard because it does what it says on the tin. Harrisville Shetland is probably my favorite workhorse yarn. It is woolen spun. It's spun tightly, so it's not super fragile. Brooklyn Tweed Loft. So it's really durable, and it feels horrible in the skein. You like pick it up and you're like, why? My friend Emily calls it steel wool. But it blocks beautifully. It just goes poof, and it's magical, and it blocks so wonderfully, and it's not soft, but I can actually, like, I don't feel prickle at all. I mean, I think like at all. So it's really, really lovely. So and it's also relatively inexpensive. I feel like it's like $10 for 50 grams, which like is not free, but it's less than some other stuff. So it's I love it. It's my favorite garment yarn, and the worsted weight is called Highland. So Shetland's the fingering, which is not where it's from. It's the type of spin, apparently. So anyway, so that's the Harrisville mustard. And then it's got this dark blue, which is another Harrisville Shetland. This is Loden blue. Whoop, there we go. Which is just this lovely, like, it's a petrol blue. And then I'm using, this is Rauma Phenol PT, is it called PT2 anymore? I think it's just called Phenol Garn, which is a Norwegian rustic yarn. This is like one of my other favorite ones. And this is a little bit more expensive than Harrisville, but not like, I think it's maybe $12 for 50 grams. And it's definitely a little toothier after blocking. Like, if you're sensitive, this is probably not a yarn to go all into, but it does block beautifully. It wears beautifully. I really love it. There's a zillion colors. I actually have a shade card from Woolly Thistle. This is like all of my favorite companies, Woolly Thistle, and so I can pick out colors that I want without ordering them all, but this is kind of one of my go-tos. It's really nice. I don't know what it's called. They all have numbers. It's green. It's like a heathered, evergreeny color. And then there's a chartreuse in the sweater that is also Rauma. I think this is like moss. It's called light. I don't know. It's a moss thing. It's chartreuse, and it's actually a little less blue than it's showing up here. But so there's that. And then this is Jamieson and Smith. There's two companies out of Shetland that have Jamieson in the name. It's very confusing. This is Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. This is actually a fairly new one in my arsenal, and I love it. It is a woolen spun 2-ply fingering weight yarn. It's all Shetland wool, which is very cool, especially since I'm knitting a Shetland wool week pattern right now. And this is the Lichen Heather colorway, and it's like the perfect, like, sagey green. This is one of my favorite colors. It's like a saturated celadon sage. And I really like the Jamieson and Smith colors because a lot of them are heathered, and sometimes, like, the Rauma isn't usually, so it's kind of a flat. And as someone who loves hand-dyed yarn, and I love the variation, and anytime I can get kind of that just a little bit more depth of color in a commercial yarn, I'm here for it. So, and the main color is Harrisville Shetland in oatmeal, which is like a ride or die. I should just start buying just giant cones of it. This is definitely a ride or die kind of yarn. So that's the seaweed slipover. I'm very excited about it. So that's one whip. I'm back. Oh, look, I forgot to do the knitting podcaster thing. It is living in my Republica Unicornia cats and weed bag. I actually, behind me, you can't see it, I actually have more fabric for this because it is the most ridiculous thing ever. Look, it's got cats, and you can see their buttholes, which, like, is if I can buy a fabric that has a cat butthole on it, I'm gonna buy it and sell it as part of my very important grown-up business. So it's got weed, it's got crystals, and it's got, like, just cats high as balls. I love this fabric. So I actually do have more of this for bags. I went on a little buying spree, maybe November, and ordered a bunch of fabric for this size project bag. I don't make a ton of these because they're kind of a pain to wrestle under the machine, but also they're expensive, and I don't know, I always just feel weird because they're huge. So these are usually like $68, and I don't know. I just don't make a ton of them. But actually, the real reason I don't make a ton of them is because I yoink them and steal them. So anyway, I ordered a bunch of large scale print fabrics so we can all have cat buttholes and weed bags. Okay. This is the project that has just been winning my heart and killing my elbow. I had to go sew something for like 2 days just to give my elbow a break. I am having a moment with cables that I normally am like all stranded color work all the time, but I have just really been loving cables, which is leading me to this other thing I'm going to talk about. This is the Ferndell Cardigan by NCL Knits. This is a new to me designer. I have had a rocky string of garments lately, just from fairly well-known designers who I don't think can write patterns. And I have to say, I have been delighted by the last 2 patterns that I have knit. Just really well written, thoughtful details. So this is the Ferndell. Oh my god, I love it so much. So it is a raglan. I haven't knit raglans in years. I don't know why. I like went all to circular yokes and I'm back on raglans. It's a raglan yoke, and it's cabled, but the cable panels are just down the front. It's going to be V-neck, so it doesn't have a button band yet. And this has just been the most enjoyable knit. I started this like, okay, also y'all, I don't have like a regular go-to job. I don't have human children, like they're, I have time. I was sick last week, so like I've been in bed. But anyway, I started this like a week and a half ago. Oh, also I'm child sized, so like stuff goes faster and it's worsted weight, but still. So this, super professional. So it's this cable panel and it is just so beautiful. Like, look at that. Cables are so magic. They are, if you were afraid of knitting cables, please do not be. My dumb ass decided that the second project I was ever going to knit was going to have cables, and I didn't know to be afraid of them, and I wasn't, and it was fine. They're a little slow. They require some thought. You have to pay attention, but like it's not hard exactly. And it's so satisfying, and they feel beautiful. So anyway, I am so excited to wear this. So I started on the first sleeve, and then kind of had to stop because of elbow pain, but I cannot wait to wear this. It is in one of my favorite colors. It's showing up like really, really acid green here. It's actually more of a mustard, like a true mustard, the kind that looks yellow in some lights and green in other lights. And I love it because I'm a redhead and it's one of my colors. So I am just dying to finish this basically, but it's really beautiful. I have a progress keeper. Oh my gosh, do people still, I don't watch that many knitting podcasts anymore. This feels like I have to show off the progress keeper like the old school ones. There you go. Sort of. Can you see it? It's a bowl of queso and I made it. Okay. I don't sell those. I just make tiny food sometimes, like I've done since I was 14, out of polymer clay. So, Ferndell Cardigan, highly recommend. I think it's sized up to like a 60-inch bust. Like it's appropriately sized. Yay. And it has just been an absolute joy and an absolute delight. And yarn. Oh my gosh. Whew. Boy howdy, y'all. It is, the yarn is the fiber company Cumbria, which is so delicious. I just am obsessed with it. This is the worsted weight. There's a fingering weight, but this is the worsted weight. And it is so, gosh, it's just so good. It is a blend of Masham and merino wool. If you know me, you might know this. Merino's not my favorite sheep. I have favorite sheep. Merino's not one of them. Because I actually don't, for me, softness is not the number one thing I look for in a yarn. But this is a blend of merino, Masham, and mohair. And it doesn't it's not like a mohair silk that's all floof, but it is in there, which adds a little bit of strength, I think, and a little bit, like a teeniest little bit of halo, and and it's got a little bit of texture to it that you don't always get in merino wool. Oh my gosh. And I think the Masham might be I have no idea, I'm just guessing, based on what the dyeing looks like, that the Masham might be a little bit of a darker, it's not like a pure white sheep. And so, again, talking out of my ass. And so it's got this like really, really, really lovely heathered effect. It's got some depth of color. I love it. I knit the last sweater I finished, I knit in the fingering weight in Appleby Castle, which was like the perfect true ruby red. I can't be trusted around these because I feel like I could go insane. Like the color palette is very much my jam, and like I have to be like, okay, slow your roll. So that is the Ferndell cardigan in the Fiber Company Cumbria, and Cumbria. What? Why do I watch all this British television if I can't say British place names? Sorry, it's Cumbria. I'm sorry if anyone is British and watching this. I'm a disaster. Americans are the worst. So anyway, here's my Ferndell cardigan. I love it. I'm ready for it to be done. I need my elbow to stop hurting. Wine. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to transition. So, segue. Also, yes, do I make pride bags for a living? Yes. Do all of my sweaters quantities live in plastic 2-gallon hefty bags that have already been used for something? Also, yes. So, I am very excited about this. So, I have always, like since I was a child, I was very into American Girl dolls. I have always been obsessed with vintage dress and historical costuming. Obsessed. Without the ability to make it happen. So I am short. Like, so sizing has always kind of been an issue. Accessibility has been an issue to vintage clothes. And then, like, by the time I had any money or really the ability to start thinking about it, like, it wasn't available. Anyway, whatever. All of this has just, my whole life, I've just really loved vintage style. I never have gone full on, but, like, when ModCloth became a thing, I was all over it because I could find these silhouettes. I was very excited when Mad Men got popular because, like, I could find stuff at Banana Republic Petites that fit that. I was, you know, it was a whole thing. So one of the best, I'm just gonna say it, the best part about sewing and knitting is all of a sudden I have access to all of the historic and all of the vintage clothes and styles in fabrics that I want that I can ever dream up. And it's really started to sink in that this is what I can do. And so I did one historical costume. I did an Edwardian walking suit for, Atlanta has a historic cemetery that we're members of that's like in the neighborhood next to ours, and they do a costume contest for their fall event, and I won best handmade costume, and that was very exciting. But, like, when it comes day to day, like, as much, I'm not gonna dress like Anne Shirley every day. Like, I'm just not. So, what I have been really into lately is vintage knitwear. And just the styles of the 1940s. I am obsessed with puff sleeves. I love stranded color work. There are just so many really beautiful designs out there. And I, maybe like June, got the Vintage Shetland Knitting Project book / pornography tome. It's yarn pornography by Susan Crawford, and just want everything in it. And so I've really just been thinking about this a lot lately. I actually purchased a true vintage pattern. I have never knit from a vintage pattern because I am a chicken. And I have a hard enough time. I'm so fussy about modern patterns that, like, I think a vintage like, there are like 4 pattern writers that I really endorse and like, right? In the whole knitting world. I'm grouchy. I'm just a grouchy person. And so anyway, I bought a vintage pattern for this sweater that is I think like a 1940, I'm saying 44, I'm just making that up. I think it was a Best Way pattern. just like V-neck, puffy sleeves, full of all over stranded color work, and I loved it so much. I was going to sit down, I was going to chart it, I was going to do it. And then Susan Crawford, blessed be her name, did her magic on the same pattern, so I don't have to do it. So she released it. She's doing a like pattern, maybe like every 6 weeks, 2 months pattern release of a Stitch in Time, which is like her series on vintage knitting. And it's a Stitch in Time colorwork edition. And I could not click buy fast enough, even before knowing that she was going to release this pattern. So I think it was like $30, and it's a lot of patterns. And you can sign up on her website, and they'll be emailed to you as a PDF when they're done. You can't buy them individually on Ravelry. So if you are into this, like, I think you have to sign up for the whole deal. But oh my gosh, every one she's released, I'm like, want. There's a hat that I love. There's multiple sweaters. It is just, it's so beautiful. And I have not, just as a like disclaimer, I haven't knit any of her patterns yet, but her approach to it is really wonderful. And the reason she started designing and sort of retooling vintage patterns is she loved a style, but it didn't fit. And so if you ever go on a deep dive for vintage knitting or frankly sewing patterns, everything is size. Like the biggest bust size for anything that you might find is a 44. So like these are not, because the expectation was like, well, I guess you're on your own because everybody knows what they're doing and you can just grade up however, because you just know how to do that. But like, I don't know how to do that. So anyway, I'm obsessed. So this not reissue, I would say like a complete redo of this 1944 made that year up Best Way cardigan that Susan Crawford did is called Cloud Busting. Oh my gosh. I'm like emotional. It's just so beautiful. So I bought yarn for it before I had the pattern because I'm me. So I'm going to be knitting it in very, very, very me colors, which is vintage Tupperware of the 1970s. I think actually, is that what the mustard is for? Y'all, I don't know. I haven't looked at this pattern in a while. I can't remember. There may be another color in here. It may need another color. But anyway, I'm going to be doing it in autumn tones with the main color as an oatmeal. Just very me. Very, very, very me. So I'm very excited about that. I do have to wait for my body to heal up a little bit before I start an all-over stranded colorwork pattern. But that is definitely coming down the pipeline. So what all of this is leading up to that I keep very poorly teasing is I am planning on, I was thinking about doing it as a capsule wardrobe, like a late 30s, early 40s capsule wardrobe. And then I sat down with my sewing plans and I was like, oh no, this is actually just going to be my wardrobe and all of my sewing plans for the year. So I have so much coming down the pipeline that I'm excited about. So the knitwear, so the seaweed slipover will be part of that. The Ferndell cardigan will be part of that because that cabled cardigan is a very time appropriate thing. I'm not going to be like didactic about, I'm not a historian, I'm not a dress historian. I'm not going to be didactic about it. I'm going for sort of feel as opposed to actual, no, this is the pattern directly from this time period. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. So the seaweed slipover will be a part of that. The Ferndell will be part of it. I knit a red cardigan whose pattern name I can't pronounce that I love. That's got cables on it. That's going to be part of it. I mean, some of my existing stuff will absolutely work. So I like to think of my wardrobe as a capsule wardrobe, but like really my wardrobe is only a capsule wardrobe because I make everything. And so because I make everything looks good together. But I really want to kind of focus in this year on sort of historically and vintage inspired late 1930s, early 1940s fashion. Because there's just so many design elements that I love. And it's also really, like, there's a lot of options. You're not shoehorned into one thing. And I don't have to wear special underwear. So that's always great. I am never going to wear a corset, especially not like on a Tuesday. That is not how I roll. So the sort of the vintage silhouettes, I love. And they work with my personal style. They work with my body. So anyway, I am very excited. Just more puff sleeves. Just, that's what I'm here for. Just all the puff sleeves. So I've got the knitwear going on that. I've got plans. I will be talking more about that. I have patterns coming hopefully this week that I am so excited about. Oh my gosh. One of them I can't stop thinking about. So I'll be talking about that. I am planning on making real pants. That's going to be a thing. But I'm going to count this as part of this wardrobe because the styling on these is just a very classic, I would say late 30s, 1940s pajamas. Okay, so I am obsessed with making fancy PJs. I am obsessed. I will talk about that in a second. So I haven't even worn these, which is why they don't look rumpled, because once I start wearing them, the collar just kind of goes blue and the facing pops out and they look like crap. But they just came off the machine, so they look all fancy and new. And my notch my collar looks good. Like, they're never gonna look this good again. This is the top, and they have piping. They have piping, and they have buttons that I made that are like a green, like a scummy, like a. They're not super scummy, but they're like a green, and they have some glitter in them. So I made the buttons. Here are the pants. So this pattern, these are the Closet Core Carolyn pajamas. This is my 9th pair. Oh my gosh. I have been obsessed with fancy pajamas since I was 15. I still have some that are like 25 years old, 20 years old. No, more than 20 years old now. Almost 25. So I really love super classic, and always have loved super classic sort of collared, button down, full pants pajamas. Like it's always been one of my favorite things. So one of the first things I wanted to do when I learned how to sew was make them, and I am really glad I waited a while. I'm going to talk about this pattern. So anyway, here are the pants. Also, this fabric, oh, come on, focus. Okay, there we go. That's me to me every minute of every day. So this fabric I'm obsessed with it. It has moths on it. It has Luna moths on it. It has a little nest with eggs. I don't know, it's not going to focus. Come on. It also has little you can't really see them. You can look on Instagram. I got it. Oh, maybe not. It has little tiny snails. Like it's like a slate, I would say a slate blue, like a blue-gray. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm obsessed with this fabric. So, I have jammies. So these are the Closet Core Carolyn. I love the pajamas it makes. I love them. I'm obsessed with them. The pattern, I had to do lots of fitting stuff to the pants. So I had to grade 2 sizes up in the hips. I had to add because they were like late 90s, early 2000s, like low rise, and no, never again. So I had to add length. I had to do stuff there. They're cut. I'm really narrow through the shoulders, and they fit me perfectly. I don't know that they're made for most humans. Like, not that my body is in any way standard, but like what I had to do was a lot for pajamas. But I am stubborn, and I wanted the thing, and I don't know of any other pattern companies that have piped pajamas that are like this level of fancy, and I really wanted fancy pajamas. So I suffer through it. Sewing the collar is hell. Okay, usually when you do something 9 times, especially sewing, there's muscle memory, you get better at it. It's easier. It's just, the shirt on these is just hell start to finish. The sleeves are a relief. And if you sew, doing sleeves is not usually fun, but it feels like a relief. And I have made, seriously, at least 9 of these. And my collars still are not perfect. And I hate them. Like, I hate doing them. It is unpleasant. It takes hours, and like every time I start a new one, I'm like, oh yeah. So I don't know if there's an easier way. There may be an easier way to do it. It's just notched piped collar is not like a standard sewing thing. So, I hate making the shirts. And yet, 9 later. So this is definitely a, like, worth it in the end kind of thing. And I really do love them. And I can't tell you, the changing out of clothes that I made into clothes that I made at night is fabulous. It's a great way to use, like, goofy prints that not that I have any sort of limit on what I wear, but, like, a print that I wouldn't, or a color I wouldn't necessarily wear but really love. Although I definitely ordered enough of this for a dress, so this is gonna get daytime use too. But I love them. It is, they use quilting cotton, which we'll talk about this, I'm sure, over the next however long I do this. There's a lot of snobbery around using quilting cotton in garments, but, like, I love it. It's great for some things. Done. So anyway, I've really love being able to make my own pajamas, but it's a faff. They are piped, and so I have a piping foot I have to make the piping from scratch. I have a piping foot for my machine. I actually have 2 sewing machines that are in regular use, and so, like, when I make these, I leave one set up with the piping foot and only do piping on it, and the other one I do all of the actual sewing on. Anyway, it's like they're a pain in the ass. They are absolutely a pain in the ass. And then I put them on and I'm like, I am a goddess. So that's that. So I'm going to count these as part of my capsule, I don't know, wardrobe plans for the year, because they really do fit in stylistically. So those are done. I cut a dirndl. I was worried this wasn't going to be long enough. Y'all, are you still here? Do you need to, you can pause and, like, go pee and get a snack. I am also extremely into wearing dirndls. I was obsessed with the Sound of Music as a child. It was my first bit of anti-fascist propaganda, and it is still, Fraulein Maria is still wardrobe goals, always, forever. So, I love folkwear patterns. They are not, oh God, sexy. They're not particularly, some of their newer stuff is more size inclusive. I think this one is up to a 54-inch bust. Don't quote me on that. But I started making, their dirndl, Austria, I think it's 123. It's the Austrian dirndl. I started making it about a year ago. Oh my gosh. I love this pattern so much. I did so much work to get it to fit in the bodice. I am, like I said, I am narrow in the shoulders. I'm just small. Like, I'm just I don't have a lot of boobs. I don't have a lot of shoulders. Like, I'm just like that. It's just how my body is. And so patterns, just like ready to wear clothes, don't fit me. So I learned really early on in sewing about how to do small bust adjustments and petite bodice adjustments and narrow shoulder adjustments and all this stuff. So I did so much to this pattern to get it to fit my top. And I love it. It's probably definitely wardrobe staple. So a dirndl is it's a fitted sleeveless bodice you can layer underneath it, and a full gathered skirt. That's it. Basically, I feel like a Disney princess every time I wear one, and I love them. So, I have a bunch that are knee length, and then late winter, early spring, I started making some that were like a maxi length to wear with tights and tall boots. Oh my gosh, I love them. I love the maxi dirndls. And so I reach for them in the winter. And so I cut fabric for another one. Do y'all know the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? It is a children's classic. And, like, the premise is if you give a mouse a cookie, they're going to want a glass of milk. And if you get them a glass of milk, they're going to look at the refrigerator. I'm going to get this wrong, but they're going to look at the refrigerator and be like, ooh, you know what this fridge needs? Drawings. And so you get the mouse crayons and paper, and it's like one thing after another after another. That is literally me as a human. So I had leftover weird pieces from my pajamas, and I was like, well, I could cut pockets out of it, which made me be like, oh, I could cut a dirndl. So I did that. So I haven't started this at all. I'm just gonna show you the fabric. So this is just a facing. So I'm going to be doing a maxi length dirndl in this like storm blue. It's weird. I love blue and I forget to wear it. I wear like teals, like a deep teal, and I mean all the green. Comes with a bottle of red hair dyes that you have to wear a lot of green. So yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna make this and I'm very excited, and I was like, this is literally what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I shouldn't include this in a circa like late 30s, early 40s capsule wardrobe for historical reasons. Maybe nationalism is not something I want to. But then I thought about The Sound of Music, and what is a better anti-fascist piece of beautiful art than The Sound of Music? My entire soul is Christopher Plummer ripping the Nazi flag in half. Also, P.S. I just rewatched that movie. Christopher Plummer, that movie would be insufferable. It would be just like saccharine disgustingness. And Christopher Plummer's grouchy, like, ain't give a damn sarcasm. And it's like, it's so refreshing. And that is why I'm still watching that movie. The end. Anyway, so I'm not sure I'm going to be comfortable calling my dirndl part of my wardrobe, but I do wear them and I love them. And honestly, especially the long ones do make me feel like a Disney princess forest, you know, Briar Rose-esque kind of deal. And I love it. So anyway, that's that. So that's kind of the next big sewing project. Actually, I don't even know how many I've made. I've made so many of this dirndl that it's actually a really relaxing kind of thing, and I've got the fit down, and so it really is just kind of construction. It's the opposite of the pajamas. Pattern pieces, it is literally just 3 rectangle skirt panels, bodice front, bodice back, facing front, facing back, pockets, done. So they're actually really relaxing to make. So I'm very excited about it, and this blue really is lovely, so I'm pumped about this. Okay. Whew. Wait till y'all hear me talk about my own work. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got on. I will be getting back to the studio. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. I'm gonna pause and go get a bowl cozy, and we're gonna talk about bowl cozies. BRB. I haven't said that since like 2000. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm back. So I was eating soup because it's January, and I was like, I need bowl cozies. So if you are not familiar, this is a bowl cozy. You put a bowl in it, and you can microwave them with the stuff in it. We never do. We usually just kind of take stuff out of the microwave and stick it in here, but it protects your hands. So when you're eating soup, also they're very cute. The way that I design project bags is I design them to minimize waste, but when I make the sock size pyramid project bags that I make, I don't know that I want to show you, I end up with some pieces of fabric left that don't, like, I could make more bags, but they wouldn't have handles. And so I've, over the years, engineered things to use that. So I will make tea cozies out of those pieces. I will make needle and hook rolls out of those pieces. But I was like, well, what else could I do? And I was like, oh, bowl cozies. So I had so much fun making this. It was just delightful. And so I think I'm going to be adding these to the shop at some point. So just a little engineering aside is I do want them to be microwavable. This one is not. So I had to order 100% like for real cotton batting to go on the inside, and I also had to order cotton thread. I usually use a poly thread, so they will not melt or explode or anything unfortunate in the microwave. Also, this one has metallic fabric on the inside, which would not be good in the microwave. So we do not want science to happen in your microwave. So I'm waiting on some more supplies before I start making these for the shop, but I think I'm gonna make them fully reversible. I haven't decided if I want to do them with like I do with bags where there's a lining, or if I want to do them with like the really fun fabric. So you can, cause like the one problem is I can't look at possums while I'm eating, which makes me a little sad. So I don't know. I haven't decided on that. So these will be coming to the shop at some point. If you have followed me at all on Instagram, I have, like, it takes me, I'm one person. sometimes like I have ideas faster than I can actually implement them in the way that I want. And so there's always kind of a lot going. So there may be a lag in between what I talk about here or on Instagram and how long it actually takes to, you know, come to the shop. I am really, especially with new stuff, I put new stuff through quite the R&D process. So not only do I want to make sure that it uses things effectively, I want to make sure that whatever gets in your hands, whether that's yarn or bags or bowl cozies or whatever, has gone through some rigorous kind of testing and is going to stand up to good, you know, regular use and is going to be durable. Like, I'm not just going to sell you stuff because I had an idea. So that means like when I started making resin buttons, I made the buttons and then I hit them with a hammer to see how much it took to make them break. I put them through the washer and the dryer. Like, I really, really want y'all to love whatever you buy from me. I really want you to love it. So once all of the supplies get here for the bowl cozies, they'll have to go through, I'm going to microwave them and wash them and dry them and kind of see how they wear. Because one of my biggest fears is that y'all are going to feel ripped off by anything you buy. I think we've all had that experience and I don't want you to feel that. So I do everything I can on the front end to make sure you're getting just top shelf shit. So that's what's going on there. So we've got bowl cozies coming up. I know me. I will be ready to get back to the studio at some point. I'm not there quite yet. But, you know, encouragement helps. So send all the good vibes. So yarn will be coming at some point. I did a fiber update, a spinning fiber update at the end of the year last year. And so if you are a spinner, more of that is coming because I have 22 pounds of Rambouillet combed top living in my guest room and I don't spin. So spinning fiber will come back. I have so many fun fabrics in stock for bags. I really did go a little bananas. So in a future podcast, I will do a preview of all of that so you can see everything. So also, just plug stuff. I do have a newsletter. Sign up is on the website. We will link all of this below. Don't worry. RepublicaUnicornia.com. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free color work chart. There you go. Collection, that I designed, and you get updates on things. I'm not spammy because I do all of my own work and I don't have the energy to write a lot of newsletters. So that's a good way to stay in touch with what's going on with shop updates and all of that kind of stuff. Also, I am active on Instagram. So if you want to see cats and projects and all of that kind of stuff, that's over there. So I think that's about it. I am sure I have missed something. But anyway, I'm really excited to have this space to come and chat about what is going on. So I don't know what schedule is going to be like. I don't know how regular I'm going to be, but I do appreciate if you're here. I appreciate you being here, and you can subscribe so you don't miss me prattling on for an hour. You can like it. You can, I don't know, send it to your friends if they need hyperactive chihuahua energy in their life, like whatever, you do you. So I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.